So it's the second half of Pitt Louisville this afternoon. Pitt is fighting and struggling to get on top. You see, for most of the game, Pitt was down 2 points, 4 points, 5 points, the whole game. And I mean, Pitt would come down and make a basket, come down the other way, Louisville would score. They couldn't get a stop. They just couldn't get caught up. Really back and forth, but they just couldn't get there. Pitt makes a basket, Louisville makes a basket. Pitt makes a stop, Louisville makes a stop. Just that kind of game. So I'm standing up where I stand and watch games. And I look up at the scoreboard and I see something kind of surprising. The leading scorer for Pitt, of all people, is Nasir Robinson. This is the much maligned and beleaguered Nasir Robinson by fans. This is the guy who's 2 or 3 inches too short for his position. The guy who hasn't been able to hit a free throw to save his life. The guy who a lot of people have pointed at and said, that's the hole in this Pitt team. That's the reason Pitt's not going to be able to compete in the Big East, because of that guy at that position. So you look up at the scoreboard, and he's got 20-some points in the second half. And I'm standing there, and I'm going, wow. I want Pitt to win. Simply because I want the story to be after the game, not to be about how Pitt lost, but the story to be about how Nasir Robinson shredded Louisville's 23 zone. That's what I wanted the story of this game to be. Unfortunately for us, that's what the story is, because Pitt won. Yes. Pitt won today, 82-77 in overtime against Louisville to go 5-0 in Big East play. The run through the gauntlet continues. Pitt continues to be unscathed in this run through the gauntlet. More and more people have jumped back onto the bandwagon. More and more people have been praising Jamie Dixon, calling for him to get a contract extension, a pay raise, like I did a couple nights ago. More and more people realize Pitt Hoops is not going to return to being an also-ran in the Big East anytime soon. Yeah, you could say about this win that Louisville did kind of blow it coming down the stretch, not being able to hit their free throws. They were like 1 in 5, 1 in 6 towards the end, but I don't agree with that thought at all. I think when you're talking about a game that's this close, you really can't pinpoint it to any one singular event to be how to determine who won a game or who lost. It was a close game, and in the end, Pitt made the plays. What can you say? And I don't think it's because Louisville strategized bad. I mean, their strategy was to try and take Ashton Gibbs out of the game for Pitt, and they're actually pretty successful. I mean, they held Gibbs under his scoring average, but at the same time, it was take Gibbs out of the game and let Pitt's other players beat them. Well, surprise, that's exactly what happened. Now, Pitt, what's made Pitt become a very good team is that they've kind of transitioned. They're now very much a slashing team, very much a team that are more going to attack from the wing than set up for threes. I mean, when Pitt beat Syracuse a few weeks ago, they did it on the strength of the three-point shot. I mean, today they only took 8 3-pointers. I mean, part of that was Louisville's perimeter defense was very good, and Pitt never really had any good opportunities to look out there. But, I mean, that's the thing. Pitt has been taking incredibly good, smart shots down this trip, you know? I mean, a lot of people came into this game thinking that it was going to be determined on Pitt not turning the ball over against Louisville's press. Louisville really didn't press all that much. They mostly just sat in the zone, mostly because the few times that they did pull the press out. For the most part, Pitt handled it pretty well and sometimes got some pretty easy points out of it. I mean, turnovers, everybody thought were going to be in the issue. I mean, Pitt had some problems with the turnovers in the first half, but in the second half, they looked Like second half and overtime, they only had, I think, had like 4 turnovers, like second half and overtime, which is good. The heroes of the day. The heroes of the day are very much Nasir Robinson, Brad Wanamaker, especially with his 2 free throws at the end of the game. Again, you're talking about a guy who used to have a reputation for not being able to hit 3 free throws. I thought Ashton Gibbs played well by just playing smart and being more of a point guard than a shooting guard. I mean, they were giving him a very difficult game today, and he played. He saw that and he made good passes and he played smart. I don't think Gary McGee played a good game today, but I think he had a tough matchup with Samuels. I also think that they left him isolated on Samuels a bit too much, but I mean he did pretty well too. Other thoughts from this very good day. Pitt showed played in gold uniforms today. I think they're okay, but I don't. But across the front, instead of saying Pitt like most Pitt jerseys do, they said Panthers, and I wasn't particularly a huge fan of that. I think it looks a little too generic. Like we're gonna be like sending our uniforms after the game to like Franklin Regional High School or something like that. So I don't know. I didn't like it. I always think we should have Pitt on the front of our jerseys because that's who we are, Pitt. The crowd today, I thought it was an okay crowd. It should be noted that some people did leave the game with about 5 minutes left. And while, I mean, yeah, sometimes you might have a place to go and you might have to leave early, it seems like a lot of these people left because they thought Pitt wasn't going to win. And because Pitt came back and won, you know what? Screw you guys. It was a close game the whole way. There was no reason for you to leave early. Absolutely no reason at all. All right, this week, Pitt goes from one polar opposite in the Big East and how they play to the other polar opposite, going from playing Louisville to playing Georgetown. They're playing on Wednesday night. Looking forward to it. I mean, because let's face it, this has been an amazing year, and no reason to think it's not going to stop Wednesday night. I mean, Georgetown's good, but I mean, we're good too. All right. Have a nice evening.